Hey guys, what's up? Moses here. I finally made a Slayer Cyclone build, and this is the Slayer Cyclone build guide for two reasons. First, I want you guys to know what's up and what I've been doing, and Cyclone is such like kind of like an iconic, skill, and I don't know. I feel like I need to have a build guide for this type of skill. I feel like I need to have a build guide for this dude. I feel like my YouTube channel will not be complete unless I have a build guide for Cyclone. I don't know, everybody playing it, and I've been keeping away from Cyclone because everybody's been playing it. But the second reason is I 6-linked the Skarkus Jack, and I got the proper colors for it, with the white sockets and everything, with Vorisi and research, and I found a Starforge for the very first time. So this is my first ever Starforge build, and if you don't know, Starforge is an insane weapon. It gives area of effect for attacks, and it's a good weapon range. It's physical damage, can shock, it gives a whole lot of life, and I also managed to divine it with one divine orb for near perfection. So I had to make a Cyclone build. So here it is, Cyclone. Let's go over the links. First and foremost, we got Cyclone with melee physical damage, infused channeling, pulverize, increase critical strikes, and fortify support. This is links. That's how I'm going about it. Infused channeling is a new support that allows you to not only have more damage for supported channeling spells, but you're taking less damage from hits of types matching the gem, the skill gem tag. So the skill gem is Cyclone and the tag is physical, so that means you're taking 8% less damage from physical hits. So that's pretty strong, and you're getting infusion, which gives you more damage of types matching support skill gem tags, so more physical damage, and then 38% more physical damage at level 19. So it's a pretty strong gem. On top of that, we got Pulverize, which is also a new skill, a new support gem, sorry. They introduced it early in the league, and I tried it with many different kind of skills like Ice Crash and so on and so on, but it didn't feel good because skills that hit like Ice Crash, like Ground Slap, are not going to feel good when you give them a less attack speed multiplier. Less attack speed multiplier is huge, and having it on a skill like Cyclone makes no difference because when you're spinning, it looks the same with or without it. It doesn't look different. What does look different is the huge more area of effect and huge more area damage multipliers we're getting off of the skill. Right, so there is that. So I felt with Pulverize we definitely want to use because area of effect is the name of the game for Cyclone, which is why we picked up Slayer. But yeah, let's finish up with the link. So we said Cyclone, melee fizz, infused channeling, pulverize, increase crit, and fortify support. Other links, we have an Enlighten level 3 here, linked with War Banner, Pride, Blood and Sand, and Herald of Purity. Pretty self-explanatory. We have a cast when damage taken with Immortal Call right now, just for some little damage immunity for a little while. Character is still not finalized. And then we have a Golem here, whatever. Blood Rage, Precision level 1, always reserved because, well, it's 40% crit and a little bit of accuracy for only 22 mana. So we just keep it at level 1. And if you don't know, you just right-click on the gem when it levels up on the right-hand side. If you just right-click it instead of left-clicking it, it will stay at level 1 and it will show in this little menu over here, right? So this is Precision. Level 1, Blood Rage, always up while mapping, giving us the attack speed and frenzy charge generation per kill. And then we have a Leap Slam with Blood Magic, faster attacks, and endurance charge on melee stun. Leap Slam now changed, I think it was now, or maybe a couple patches ago. Either way, it always stuns enemies that are on full life. So it's an easy way of generating endurance charges. And outside of that, we have charging offensive cluster here that allows us to generate frenzies while hit, while channeling. So 20% whenever you're getting hit to generate a frenzy and an endurance charge, which I haven't tested, but could be you know, pretty solid way of getting frenzies and endurance charges on bosses. You're just getting them passively while channeling, which is all the time, and you know, you're constantly kind of like taking hits. So nice little way over there. Outside of that, our only curse is an Assassin's Mark Shaper's Ring over here, and I am using Mark of the Elder. Managed to get one finally, and it was such a pain to gear up this character because I'm playing Soul Self-Found. I'm very restricted on what gear I can use. Infused Channeling and Increased Critical Strike both are intelligence gems requiring 111 intelligence at level 20. I currently have 110. We need to divine this intelligence roll to 30 to get the proper you know, to get the proper you know, level 20 gem requirement, but that's going to be a little while, and I'm at 0 divine orbs at this point. But yeah, it was kind of a pain because I really kind of these two items we're going to go through. The Mark of the Elder gives you 75% increased attack damage if your other ring is a Shaper's item, which is pretty huge, and 10% life, and that flat physical damage to attacks is all we take away from this for our build, because Starforge will not allow us to deal any elemental damage. It's only physical, right? And our physical damage can shock, so we cannot deal any cold damage, any lightning, any fire. So the cold damage to attacks is irrelevant for us in this case, but it's still extremely strong ring with the life and with the attack damage if the other ring is a Shaper's item. And then, so we don't have any stats, any resists, neither here or here, which made this character an extreme pain to gear up. Normally I don't have any stats or resists on amulets except the implicit roll, and in this particular amulet, I mean, it's incredible for my build, but I used Jorgen. He was level 3, and I got really what I wanted for the build I was using before, but for this build it's not very good because well, the problem is that it doesn't have the stats, and it used to be a strength intelligence amulet, and we lost the intelligence roll and we needed it pretty badly, which is why, you know, this amulet is incredible. Let's talk one more second about the physical attack damage leached as mana. This completely is enough for channeling Cyclone the way I use it. So normally I would spec into, you know, 1-2 points into life and mana leech. Instead, what I did is I spec'd 1-3 points into life leech because I still needed the life leech, and I got all the life leech, and then for 3 points instead of 2, I get also 54% increased physical damage because these 3 points. So essentially, I spent 1 point and I got 50% increased recovery from life leech and 54% increased physical damage with two-handed melee weapons. Not too bad. So this was only possible because I had life leech, or sorry, mana leech anywhere, because otherwise it wouldn't have been possible for me. There is another way to get rid of mana costs altogether. You can craft mana cost reduction on rings, but since I'm using a unique ring and since I'm super restricted with the resistances, you know, we're walking a very fine line here with our resistances. I was lucky enough to get an Assassin's Mark ring that also has the resist, so I could not have crafted minus mana cost, but just so you know, you can craft it on rings and amulets, minus 8 to 9 mana cost on rings. You could totally do that, and then your Cyclone will cost no mana. I know it's possible, you can do it. I was unable to do it. And then if your mana cost is 0, and then you can leap slam with blood magic, then you're not using your mana, you can reserve 100%. In my case, that's not how I built it, but it's something that's important for you to know is possible, and you should be doing this because it's more efficient if you're playing in a trade league. Again, so Self-Found couldn't do it. This is the case. However, we do get you know, an Assassin's Mark ring, and our effective crit chance, if we're looking at the, you know, Assassin's Mark itself make enemies more susceptible for crits, allowing them, you know, giving them an invisible chance to be crit, right? Increased chance against enemies that have Assassin's Mark on them. So this is a chance that we don't see on our tooltip, and if we do look at our tooltip, Cyclone offense, we'll see that it currently sits at 66.43 chance to crit, and then we have 25, 25, that's 50, that's 90% increased crit chance against blinded enemies, and everything around me is blinded because we're hitting many times a second, and we have chance to blind enemies on hit, right? So that means everything around me is going to be blinded, and 90% off of 8 weapon base crit, because Slayer basically means 7.2% chance to crit, and if we add that to the tooltip, we're going to end on, you know, Assassin's Mark. We're going to, with power charges that we currently don't have, right? So you add all those things up and you reach 100% effective crit, which is similar to what we had on our previous Slayer, on our Ground Slapper, right? Because you can just get those things, and it's so easily done with the Slayer Ascendancy, which means that I don't really need to use this Diamond Flask, and later on I think I'm just going to roll myself a Heat Sulfur Flask. Yeah. Ample of heat, staunching. Surgeon. Chemist. Suffer of heat. Chemist of heat. Seems good. So this gives us 4 uses of a heat flask. And yeah, it's 40% increased damage, so when we pop it, it's 10% K tooltip DPS, which means nothing. It's just to show you. But yeah, and we have our heat immunity, and we don't need a diamond flask because effectively we're at 100% against enemies that are blinded, against enemies that are assassins marked, right? So we don't need to roll lucky crits. So there it is. Outside of that, what else did I want to say? The gear is pretty generic. Life resists on spike gloves. Life resist, I had to use essence crafting to get the intelligence. Again, kind of painful. Over here we just have life resist. Ignore the damage mods, they're irrelevant. They're both cold and for daggers, and we cannot deal elemental damage with Starforge. Boots are temple boots that I found with the hybrid roll of movement speed if you haven't been hit recently, which is kind of nice, but nothing too crazy. I would prefer dodge, chance to dodge, if I were to get hybrid, but that's what I got. Again, I'm only using them because of the intelligence and because they rolled life, like decent life, and you know, so we're using them for that. Outside of that, we have this helmet, which again we have to use because of intelligence. I do have helmet enchant right here of Cyclone, but we cannot use it because it didn't roll int, and we have to have the freaking int. It's kind of annoying. What can we do? SSF life, but it does have a nice physical damage taken as lightning, you know, so that's a pretty solid amount of mitigation. Essentially that means it rolls up to 10%, and if 10% of all physical damage taken is taken as lightning, and lightning is automatically mitigated by 75%, that means that 7.5% of our physical damage taken is being mitigated. Right? So that's what this line means here, and it's a hybrid mod that comes from the temple. Right? So it's a very nice little thing for us to reduce damage. Right? It's pretty good. Outside of that, I believe we've talked about anything other than the flask, I guess. Staunching, heat, warding, silver for the onslaught, and make sure it's chemist, and make sure that it rolls 23 or higher. Reduced charges used, so you will have 2 uses and not just 1. But basically, while mapping permanent Onslaught. Experimenters of Adrenaline. I normally don't use Experimenters of Adrenaline, but it really does feel good because of the movement speed reduction that Cyclone gets when you channel 30% less movement speed. So you want to get the movement speed doing Flask effect, and then the Adrenaline. I'm using an Experimenters, but you could use Alchemist for increased effect. I just like to have long duration of Adrenaline flasks up, and then Lion's Roar over here. Outside of that, let's talk about the Ascendancy and the tree. For the tree, we're essentially picking up every crit cluster possible. At the bottom side of the tree, we got crit over here. We got Tempered Transcendent Flesh, which gives us crit per 10 strength unallocated. And I will save you the math. It basically means that we're getting 70 from the current way that we're speccing. It gives us 70% crit multiplier for just 2 points. It's an insane jewel. And also for 10 strength allocated, we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 nodes. So that means 10% each gives us 1% fizz damage reduction. That's 4% fizz damage reduction for this jewel. If you don't know it, again, a temple jewel that was upgraded. It's Tempered Flesh upgraded into Transcendent Flesh. Outside of that, more crit over here. More crit over here against blinded enemies, and then more crit over here with Heartseeker, and of course Fatal Blade. Huge crit for swords. Outside of that, we're picking up every possible area that we can get, which is damage and area effect over here, and +1 melee range, which increases the area of effect substantially. This cluster for only 3 points is actually quite crazy. And then we have all the area for two-handed weapon with Executioner right here. And I believe that's all the area that we got from the tree. Outside of that, we just really just pulverize, Varnished Coat, Carcass Jack, and then 20% from Starforge. That's a whole lot of area damage. I believe this was it. Did we talk about Ascendancy? No, let's talk about Ascendancy. So Overwhelm, insane. I mean, what is there to say? More damage if you've killed recently, no reflect, immunity to reflect damage, more damage against unique enemies, and then you have 20% Culling Strike, so whenever a monster hits 20% HP, it instantly dies. So that's bonkers and shouldn't really exist. I don't understand Culling Strike with 20%, but sure, we're getting it, so awesome. And then increased attack speed for 20 seconds when you kill a rare or unique enemy. So you get 20% attack speed and movement speed if you kill an enemy. So while mapping, this is insane. This is just like ridiculous node. And then if that's not enough, Impact gives us 5% area effect per enemy killed recently, up to 50%, and a big more melee damage to enemies, and more weapon, melee weapon and unarmed attack range, which is huge because attack range also affects Cyclone area of effect. And not only that, the baby nodes here are even also pretty insane. We get 10% attack speed and 40% increased attack damage from the baby nodes, as well as some crit chance and 10% area of effect. Kind of broken. Let's finish off with the tier 16 Shapers beach map. It's an Elder tier 16 beach map, but it's Shaper influence right now. It's got a bunch of sextants. Gloom Shrine's kind of like broken, but yeah, we'll do it. And we'll call it a build guide. Honestly, I'm not going to take the one with the less area of effect because it's not fun. Let's just get yeah, I mean, sure, we could do that. Let's get some Sulfite Scarabs in here because I do want to do some delving. We need to fill up that delve bar, and we're gonna run beyond because why not? Wait, what? Sextants or map object? Oh, Einar is here. Oh, okay, so Einar is here. No problem, no problem. Let's still do beyond. we'll use the scarabs later. All right, so this is Cyclone. Everything dies, and the area is ridiculous. This is Legion. We're just now going to basically detonate everything. It's kind of a resident sleeper. I mean, honestly, I personally didn't want to play this skill, if I'm honest. It's like easy mode, you know. This skill is kind of like easy mode. I mean, I got 5k life, and I mean, sure, I can die. As a matter of fact, I died twice with this character. One time, like both of the times were when I was picking up loot, some stuff hit me and I got randomly destroyed. Oh, this guy. So yeah, I mean, the skill is pretty broken, and I mean the area is pretty broken, and what is there to say? Everybody's been playing it in the last 3 months. I've only played it now, and only now because I got a Starforge. Honestly, even if I didn't get the Starforge drop, it was so random. Some dude was like, hey, something 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 Shaper, and I was like, Shaper? Who farms Shaper? And then I was looking at the you know, I was looking at my because I did the whole 40-40 right, an Elder Beach map. Let's get one Exalted Shard, will do pretty nice. I'm missing one Exalted Shard for an entire Exalted Orb. No. So I was using you know, somebody said something about Shaper, and I was like, hey, you know, I have 30 Shaper sets. Let's do one. So I did one, and I got a Starforge just like randomly a couple of days ago, and that's really the reason why we have this build. If that did not happen, let's finish the map. If that did not happen, we wouldn't be here talking about Cyclone, honestly. It's like, it's just, it's too strong, you know, and with the synergies in the game, it's just not really fun to play something that is not even like close to... I'm not looking for challenges, what can I tell? Oh, sure. Let's add some movement speed shrine. I actually could use one divine orb. Maybe we get, what is this, Arcanist? No divine. But yeah, I mean, my boys, this is Cyclone. It's kind of stupid now because I have the speed shrine, but it was even stupider. Like, it was pretty stupid even before the speed shrine, right? Now I got to pick up the loot, and you get to watch something else on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video, maybe in Blight. Thanks for watching. Bye bye, friends.